Welcome to Estadio Centenario, and I don't speak Spanish, but I imagine that is going to be Central Stadium. Welcome to another Gaz Right video, and this is going to be everything you need to know about doing a little tour, delving into a little bit of history of the stadium that hosted the first ever World Cup and World Cup final. To be fair, if you host the World Cup, you have to host the bloody final, or people will not be happy. Back in 1930, and it was absolute carnage. The Uruguayans hosting and winning, beating the old Brazilians 2-1 in the final. And I've just been flying about the tour, getting involved with a bit of history, a little bit of knowledge, and just a ridiculous amount of trophies. You don't see this amount of trophies in the UK, maybe because England have only ever won one. 1966, there was a little memento to that, but only a tiny amount, as you can imagine. It's predominantly filled with stuff from Copa America, and obviously, yeah, more South American artifacts. The French probably got the biggest section towards them, because they deserve a lot of respect. Your Henrys, your Zidanes, your Thurams, just absolutely legendary footballers. But before we get into all that, things you might want to know: it is £6.50 to go into like the museum, and then come sit up like where I am now, like up in the stands. You can pretty much sit on like a third or a half of the stadium, get some flare JPEGs and just chill up here. Super relaxed. Everything as well is like all open. If it was in the UK, everything would be behind like a glass wall or sheet. All the trophies are just out because the people respect things out here. But yeah, £6.50 to do this all. If you want to go up here and do what they call, I think they just called it the Tower, it's an extra £1.50. I mean, you got insane views of the stadium on this side. But you can see into the old distance over the city as well. So if you do like your little viewpoints, I'm a big fan of the views, but today is of course about the old football. This stadium looks banging, like very similar to the one I went to in Turkey, like all open on one side. If it rains, you're getting absolutely soaking, but I tell you what, the atmosphere will be absolutely bouncing in here. No backs, so you know what I mean. The South Americans do have some good posture about them, and yeah, I guess the Tower, not essential, but if you do want a little bit more, you can fly into that. What I thought was pretty loose, to be fair. The stadium has a capacity of 60,000, but during that World Cup, when Uruguay played, well, I guess the former Yugoslavia now, the attendance was 79,867. So that's pretty loose, an extra third on top. That's not a couple of people. So yeah, I imagine it was absolutely rocking in here. It goes without saying, it's one of those places you need to like football. Em was thinking about coming, and I was like, oh yeah, it's up to you, whatever. Like, obviously, come get involved. I'm glad she didn't now, because if you don't like football, I would probably say you're not going to enjoy it. There's loads of different screens as you come in, like showing different matches. Obviously, one from the final, which they brought to life a little bit more, and all the colour they've added to that. And then they've just got so many trophies, artifacts and pieces. It's absolutely ridiculous. The old boots, Jesus, I would struggle on a football pitch nowadays, but I tell you what, you put me in a few of them boots, the tackles, whew, must have been some bad injuries knocking about. There's like two different types of boots, like one, like I imagine I'm going to call them like the defender boot, the big one, and then there's some more which like more like what I call like plimp soles, or something you'd wear in like primary school in PE, which a little bit more nimble, can probably get a little bit more purchase on the ball. And then probably I'd say, like, again, it depends on where you're from, what you think's the most cool. I thought the trophy from the first ever World Cup, yeah, was probably the most flair thing in there. There's like a little press room where you can see what it was like back in the day. The old newspaper reporters, yeah, flying in, chucking some challenges and some questions in as well. And then in 1916, apparently was the first ever international cup, which actually held in Buenos Aires, Uruguay. Of course, winning again, doing absolutely bitwaris back in the day. And apparently that is the oldest football federation. If anyone has questions on that, or if you know, is that factual? I imagine if it's in the bloody museum, I guess, but I thought that was pretty mental. Who is the most legendary Uruguayan footballer? Obviously, my era, I'd probably say Suarez, to be honest. Obviously, nowadays, I absolutely love Darwin Núñez, giving it the old Darwin Núñez. He came from Benfica to the Big Reds. Has anyone seen that guy on TikTok? had a one-hit wonder, and now he's made his absolute channel all about it. But yeah, love Núñez. Suarez is obviously the best player, probably the best striker ever in the Premier League. Got other bangers as well, Forlan, Godin, Cavani, but yeah, Suarez for me, I think is the creme de la creme. There's that season where he didn't even take penalties and he was absolutely rifling in goals, left, right, and centre. Questions you might be thinking, are there any women's football stuff in there? Absolutely not, unfortunately. But in the coming years, when there's a little bit more history in that game, I imagine there will be. The England stuff, the France stuff, obviously I think the France bit was like the most flair on that bottom floor, as you kind of go up the staircase. But yeah, Henry, Zidane, again, legendary. The Zidane headbutt, if there's a way to go out, that is it. And then there's a little staircase inside, so there's a museum on one floor, 2 floors of museums, and obviously you can come up to the outdoor stadium bit here. The museum on the top floor, I think, is like the older stuff. Apart from it's in a bit of a weird order. The oldest World Cup's on floor 1, then the more new stuff with all the new players, Suarez, Forlan, Cavani, etc. And then on the top floor, that is where like the history unfolds. Again, crazy amount of trophies, but for me the 2 standout things there were the Pele signed shirt, like the signatures. I do not have a good signature, but yeah, back in the day some of the calligraphy or handwriting ability was limited, but yeah, what a player. And then of course the legend himself, Diego Maradona, shirt there, not signed like the Brazilian one, but yeah, absolutely ruthless. Nonetheless, probably the biggest trophy there is one I mentioned before, is like the 1917 Copa America, but they just don't make trophies like they used to. Like the first World Cup one was quite small, but the rest of them, little drone overhead, pleasure. But then the old trophies were absolutely massive. Like I'd probably say like 2/3 of the size of myself, which is pretty bloody flair. Again, there's another little press room, conference room upstairs. I'm getting attacked by a wasp. That is not what you want to see on a day like today. And then probably like the final thing, yeah, well, obviously all the trophies, and then the final thing, sorry, is when you come outside here, this is obviously the stadium. It's just super chill. I think this is kind of what I was saying on my videos, like the last few days in Montevideo. God, every time I say that, I have to remember how to pronounce it, not to say Montevideo, not to say Montevideo, as if I'm Italian. But there's just so much respect, I feel, for everything, whether it's like paintings, whether it's a beach, whether it's queuing. I think from the Uruguayan people, like they just let you go anywhere. Like all the trophies are open, most of the shirts are open, like the Pele one and the Maradona one aren't open, but again, they just let you come up here, chilled. There's no like security saying you can do this, you can't do that. So yeah, for me, pretty top draw. It's about, I'd probably say it was like a 40-minute walk from where we're staying, just ambling. Did go past the best bakery in the whole of Montevideo. It's unbelievable. Saint-Germain patisserie, chef's kiss for the pan au raisin, which is the best baked good in the world. But I said it at the start, I'll say it again now, if you like football, you'll absolutely love this. So much history, insight, knowledge, and for £6.50, definitely worth the money. I'd sack off the tower unless you're into your viewpoints, but I'll have a viewpoint. There's better places to see it, and extra £1.50 is not needed. But don't come here if you don't like football, because it'll be an absolute baptism of fire. In the comments, who is the greatest Uruguayan player ever, and who is the greatest one ever in the Premier League? Bang the questions in there. Anything else you want to know, hit the subscribe button. Remember, the chef is always cooking. Let's get it. Let's get it.